Excited for you guys. Like I said, Jordan was somebody that I met probably September of October of last year. And he was somebody that I immediately understood he had a business mind and he had been in business for himself before. And he took a really unique approach to the business. And I'm going to allow him to elaborate it a little bit more. But everybody that's on this call, can you please drop a 1 in the chat for my man, Jordan Thompson, if you're excited to hear from him. How are you doing today, Jordan?
Better unmute before I say anything, huh? I'm awesome. How are you doing, Gage?
Dude, I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm really in a great mood today, and I'm really excited for them to hear kind of your approach because I think it's very unique. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when Jordan told me what he was doing, I was like, man, that sounds like it could work, but I don't know if it's duplicatable. And then as time went on, I realized, I was like, well, just because 1 or 2 agents may not be able to do it doesn't mean 3 to 4 or 5 agents could excel at it. So Jordan, before we dive into the meat and potatoes, can you just elaborate on who you are? What did you do before coming into insurance, and why did you see insurance as a vehicle for you to escape the corporate world?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, thank you for having me on here today. I really appreciate it. I know we've been talking about this for a few months now. So it allowed me to kind of gather some thoughts and maybe hope to help your agency out with something maybe they haven't seen before. So my background is in the automotive industry. I was the general manager of 4 Range Rover dealerships here in Texas for about 8 years. Been in the car business for about 18 years. Clearly behind me, if you see, I'm a guitar freak, and I own a guitar company as well. We do custom one-off guitars, so I'm always looking for business opportunities to add to my portfolio. And I found insurance last August as a opportunity for me to get out of the corporate world and actually raise capital quickly on my investment. So I'm always looking for low-cost opportunities to have highest return of interest as soon as possible. So that's kind of my background. Wanted to just add to the portfolio really more than anything.
Gotcha. No, it makes sense, man. And you can just touch base. Like you said, you were, managing 4 Jaguar dealerships. How many people were you overseeing, and how many people were you really communicating with on a daily basis?
So my direct reports were, we had 514 people that reported to me directly or within the organization. I only interacted probably on a daily basis with 25% or less. Just, we were spread thin from Austin all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So especially during COVID, it was really difficult for traveling. So there was a lot of the Zoom calls like you guys do, which that helped me with the approach that I took within the insurance business. Is I think a lot of clientels, a lot of professionals are leaning towards this now. So it really helped overcome a lot of the objections with the strategies I was implementing.
Awesome, man. I mean, I wanted to put it in perspective, Jordan, like how many people you were dealing with on a daily basis, because when people hear that you're managing 4, dealerships, they may think, a couple people or, 20, 30 people, but you're talking about 500 people company wide, and, really communicating with probably 50 to 100 of them on a daily basis. And the reason I wanted to bring this up specifically, because I knew, guys, that Jordan's level of communication was a hell of a lot better than my level of communication. So the reason behind why I kept this approach that Jordan had to the business to myself is because I'm like, dude, this guy can speak better than me. He knows how to control a conversation a lot better than me. So of course he's going to do a lot better job of me selling over the phone, because this was pre-me. This is when I was still going out in the field when I first met you. So I was like, okay, well, I know that his level of communication may not be the level of communication as some of our newer agents or agents on the team. So I'm like, only he can do that. Like his level of communication is at such a higher level because of his experience in business that it works for him, but I don't think it's going to work for other people. But Jordan, can you just elaborate on your mindset on why and what you were doing as far as age mortgage protection leads and why you were purchasing those and the mindset behind it and your approach to it? And we can just kind of dive into the meat and potatoes of things here, man.
Yeah, sure. So the reason I wanted to dive into aged mortgage specifically was for two primary reasons. Not everybody has the capital to start a business. So it's an opportunity. You can put yourself in front of a lot of people for a reasonable cost. So again, the only way I was going to get better at learning the products, learning how to overcome objections was to get in front of as many people as possible. So purchasing 100 age mortgage protection leads cost me $250. So prospectively, I could put myself in front of potentially 200, 300, 400 phone calls, one on first dials or first text messages in a week for the same cost as, I don't know what the instance, how many that would be an instance, but relatively a lot less. Yeah, 25% of the amount of people I could put myself in front of. So again, from a business perspective, I'm always looking for the lowest cost, lowest expenses with the highest return on investment. So that gave me that opportunity straight out of the gate. When you and I met, I was coming to the office and I didn't believe in going in homes. I know that is scary to say, but I found that spending 6 hours on the road every day versus potentially 6 hours on the phone with those aged leads, it was a total game changer for me. And I know you laughed about it a lot whenever you come in and I'd be sitting there and just plugging away at it, but it worked for me, and I've seen it work for a lot of people as well.
And I guess to put it into perspective, like what has been your most families protected in a week taking this approach?
31.
And when you say that you were buying 100 age mortgage leads, it wasn't just once a week, right?
No, I did it every Monday through Thursday was what I did. So it was a $1,000 lead purchase per week strategy. And because I was doing it virtually, I was able to dial and set appointments for every single day. So Sunday night, I would purchase for Monday. And then I would do the same thing Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. And I would run appointments each day. Every day was a new day for me. So I couldn't have a bad week. I could only potentially have an opportunity of one day that didn't go my way.
So let me understand this. You were spending $1,000 a week and you were getting 400 aged mortgage leads a week.
Correct. Yeah, on average.
And can you elaborate on the oldest mortgage lead that you actually helped? How many years old was it?
Yes, that's one of my favorite stories because I just actually came back to this gentleman and his wife last week, and it kind of brought it back to me. So his lead was a 2011 lead. So it was, at the time, it was in December when I wrote the policies for him and his wife. And so it was 10 years, a little over 10 years old.
10 years.
It was I'm sure it's a city that nobody's ever even heard of in Oklahoma. So I won't even bring up the details, but him and his wife, he's a business owner. He was making $350,000 a year as a consultant in the energy business. And the coolest part of the story is that I helped him and his wife get protection for their home, their new home. It wasn't even the home that was listed on the mortgage mailer. So he didn't know that I was calling on the old one. He just knew that it was something he needed. So it's kind of those needles that you're looking for. And he calls me last week or 2 weeks ago, right before Easter, and said, "Hey, do you know anybody that does anything in retirement planning?" I said, "Absolutely. You're a business owner. What are you looking for?" So I actually got in my car and drove. It was an 8-hour drive I drove to him and his wife's home and put him in a really, really nice IUL for each one of them. Because they just paid taxes to the IRS this month. He's like, man, I just paid 40 grand in taxes this month. What can I do with that money to set myself up for retirement?
So to give people perspective, so it's a $10 mortgage lead that
no, $2.50.
My bad. 10-year-old mortgage lead that was $2.50 that he found in the mix of 100 that day. And you wrote 2 policies for the husband and the wife to protect the home. And then a couple weeks ago or a month ago, you wrote a fat IUL to protect his retirement, give him a retirement plan. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So what you're telling me, Jordan, is that all leads work, and it doesn't matter how old the leads are. A lead is an opportunity to speak to somebody on protecting either their life, protecting one of their biggest assets, or just protecting their family in general. And I think it's important for the 60 people on here today to understand it doesn't matter if the lead is 6 years old. It doesn't matter if the lead is 2 years old. It doesn't matter if the lead is a decade old. What matters is finding the people that are still looking for our help. Because out of 100 leads, there's going to be over half of them that tell you to pound sand, I'm not interested, the whole 9 yards. Like, doing this for months and months, Jordan, what would you say, you out of 400, like how much interest would you actually get out of like 400 leads in a week?
20 or less.
20.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to put it into perspective that it's not that you need to have a big number, like 20 at bats in a week for mortgage protection. You're stepping up to the plate to knock some home runs out the ballpark here. And I think that so many people put this precursor or this mental barrier in their mind, Jordan, about mortgage protection. And it's so complex and it's so, difficult to understand. And it's so different than final expense. Can you please elaborate on your mindset going into aged mortgage and mortgage in general, and why you dove right into that right away versus chasing down final expense policies?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't even call it mortgage protection anymore. I call it asset protection. And the reason I changed my mindset on that was because I went into it with a mortgage mailer that said that somebody had a $250,000 mortgage, and I would find myself writing quotes on them prior to even having the appointment. And then I would get to the appointment and realize that Susie, the spouse that's a homemaker, or vice versa, or the husband's sick or whatever, they have no intention of keeping that home after the other person passes. So why am I going to protect an entire mortgage when their plan is to sell the home once that other person is no longer there? So we're really having to dive into what that protection class looks like for them. Their assets could be 6 months of protection for that home while they're hiring a realtor to get rid of the home. It could be their boat, their RV, their lake house. Like, there's other things that they own other than a mortgage. So I found myself in the example that I just gave was this gentleman owns his own business. So he's trying to protect his assets on his business for his wife. When he passes, he'll have a huge cash value. He has a really large lump sum death benefit on an IUL to protect his family, so they don't have to struggle through that. So he doesn't want to give up his toys. He wants to be 65 and have $100,000 coming in every year. Those are great opportunities to really profile those individuals.
And I think it's really important for people to understand too, like, my rule of thumb is nobody should be paying over $350 for a cash back option. Like, that, to me, that just doesn't make financial sense. When if they can qualify for a cash back option, you better believe they can qualify for an IUL. And the reason I say that is if you're writing a $400 or $360 or $500 a month cash back option, a guy can call him up and say, hey, I could get you a tax-free retirement plan that will do the same exact thing as that cashback. And then your $400 a month CBO gets bazookaed or smoked because the value in an IUL when you're spending that much money is so much more valuable than just getting your money back. And I think that many of us have the mindset that, you know, the cashback plan is the hottest thing cooking. And I think it's a great plan. I'm not going to discredit the plan. I think it's a great plan because a lot of people just play for a traditional term and they don't get any of their money back. So when you can offer a cashback option for them, they're going to run with it and be super excited. But what they don't understand typically or even know is that there's a life insurance policy out there that they can actually grow their money off of the stock market with the index rate and get paid year after year, year after year, year after year, a set amount instead of just getting their money back. And, you know, that may not be the narrative, you know, across the board here, but you guys got to understand that an IUL isn't something so far-fetched or above your head. Like, all you have to do is spend a little bit of focus and time on learning what it does and what it can do. And all of a sudden you can write a $600 a month IUL. You can write $1,000 a month IUL versus doing a $350 and they get the money back for $200,000. And sometimes they just don't see the value in that. And then sometimes we lose sales because they don't see the value in paying $280 a month for a $100,000 policy to get back $77,000. But what they could see the value in is putting in a $280 a month IUL, where they're not only going to get the living benefits, but they're going to get access to this cash value that's going to accumulate over time and pay them until they pass away. So I wanted to bring this up to you guys because mortgage protection is a great way to write big premium IULs. And I think that there's many of us that we don't bring it up to people because we're not educated or we feel like we don't know enough about it. That's why you submit a ticket to the AMS and they will walk you through it. It's a team of professionals with Series 7 license and all these high up licenses that people look after in their financial advisors. We have access to them at the tip of our fingers in the CRM. It's called Ask a Specialist in the ILC. And all you have to do is go in there, you give them, you fill out like a Google form and submit a ticket. And within 24 to 48 hours, they're going to have an illustration for you. They're going to have the best plan intended for that client. So start utilizing and leaning on these team of professionals that we have at our fingertips to be able to write these bigger ticket clients and really get these bigger premiums to increase our ROI and then increase our profitability when we're running mortgage protection. So I just wanted to dive into that for a second because I think it's a touch point that's not talked about enough across the company wide. And I get it. Americo gives us an instant decision and it's great to get paid really, really fast by Americo. But at the end of the day, when someone's spending $400 to $500 or even $350 on a CBO, you better believe you can probably squeeze out another $50, $100, $200 with an IUL if you can make it make sense to that person because it's a true investment and not just a savings account. Because what a CBO is a savings account. What an IUL is an investment. Like there's a difference between the two.